Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is again Real HRAS, your class instructor, and in this video, we will continue our discussion about French benefits. So if you haven't watched the other video about French benefit, the first discussion, so I really suggest you watch it first before watching this video because there are a lot of discussions happened in the other video. It might affect your learnings in this video. So let's have first a brief recap. Under the tax code, the following shall be regarded as a taxable French benefit. So first we have housing, we also have vehicle of any kind, interest on loan at a lower interest rate than the market rate, and take note that these three items have already discussed in our first discussion about French benefit. So again, I really suggest you watch that video first before watching this video. So we also have another taxable French benefit, expense accounts, household personnel such as maid, driver, and other household personnel, membership fees, dues, and other expenses shouldered by the employer for the employee, expense for foreign travel and holiday and vacation expenses. We also have educational assistance to the employee or his dependents. And finally, life or health insurance and other non-life insurance premiums or similar amounts in excess of what the law allows, like field health. So we will discuss these things in this video, but the three items have been already discussed in our previous video. So let's start with the expenses shouldered by the employer. There are some instances wherein the employer might give or might grant benefit to the employee by shouldering expenses. So the following rules shall apply as regards expenses shouldered by the employer. So first, expenses incurred by the employee but paid by the employer are subject to French benefit tax. So for example, if the employee has an electric bill, but instead of him paying his own bill, his employer shouldered expense, meaning paid the electric bill on his behalf. So that is a taxable French benefit. Okay? So expenses paid by the employee but reimbursed by the employer are also subject to French benefit tax. For example, if the employee has this electric bill and paid that electric bill on his own, but later reimbursed by his employer, then that is a French benefit. Why? Because the employee actually benefited from the act of the employer. Because the employee should be the one to pay his own bill. But the employer, out of gratuity, or reimburse the employee. So that is a taxable French benefit. However, if the reimbursement is receipted, okay, under the name of the employer, then that is non-taxable French benefit. So for example, if the employee bought fuel and then later on he was reimbursed by his employer and the receipt evidencing the purchase of fuel is under the name of the employer, then that could not be a taxable French benefit. Because in substance, the employer is actually the one who incurred expense. Maybe the employee was being asked to purchase the fuel on behalf of the employer. Okay, so then that is not a French benefit. Again, if the employee incurred and paid an expense and was later on reimbursed by the employer, that is a French benefit. But if the document, the official receipt evidencing the purchase, evidencing the payment is under the name or bears the name of the employer, then that is a non-taxable French benefit. Another, personal expenses of the employee paid for or reimbursed by the employer, whether or not such are duly receipted for in the name of the employer, are likewise subject to French benefit tax. Take note, this is a personal expense, meaning the personal consumption or personal use of the employee. For example, if the employee bought a makeup for herself and then later on he was reimbursed by her employer, then that is a fringe benefit. Even if the receipt is under the name of the employer, but the expense by nature is for the personal consumption of the employee, then that is a fringe benefit. Expenses shouldered by the employer for the employee's convenience is also a fringe benefit subject to fringe benefit tax. So take note, it is for the employee's convenience. If it is for the employee's convenience, it will always be subject to fringe benefit tax. Another, if the employee goes to hospital for an evaluation or checkup and then he was reimbursed by his employer, okay, then that is for the convenience of the employee, right? Then that is a taxable fringe benefit. Unless if the employer really requires the employee to go to the hospital for the annual medical checkup. However, if such expenses is a fixed and are regularly given to the employees, such as monthly allowance, then that shall not be subject to fringe benefit tax, but rather to normal or graduated tax. So if the benefit's not casual, it is regular, it is usual, it is monthly given, like an allowance. Like for example, the employee receives a monthly load allowance. That is every month. Then that is not considered a taxable fringe benefit. That is part of the employee's regular compensation. Why? Because it's monthly received. So when I say fringe benefit, the nature of the benefit should be casual. It should not be regularly given to the employees. It should not be, not always, okay, to be considered as fringe benefit. Because when I say fringe benefit, these are extra goods, service, or money given by the employer to their employees. Also, if the expense shouldered by the employer was for his own convenience, take note, for the employer's convenience, such benefits are not subject to both fringe benefit tax and to normal or graduated tax. So, for example, the kasambahays or housemaids. If the employer wants their housemaids to stay in their house and were given free food, free housings, so that these housemaids can be easily communicated or called upon when needed, then that those benefits given to these housemaids are not considered taxable fringe benefits, neither subject to fringe benefit tax nor to normal or graduated tax. Because the nature why would the employer give these benefits or grant these benefits to their housemaids is for the convenience of the employer. So always remember that if the benefit given was by nature for the employer's convenience, that is not a taxable fringe benefit subject to fringe benefit tax nor to graduated rates. But if the nature of the benefit given is for the employee's convenience, that is a taxable fringe benefit. So next we have household expenses. Household expenses of the employees, which are shouldered by the employer, such as the salary of the housemaids, personal driver, or other similar expenses, are subject to fringe benefit tax. For example, if the employer gave a monthly or a housemaid on which the employer would be the one to pay the salary, the monthly salary. Okay, so that is a taxable fringe benefit. So let's have an illustration. Juan, a manager of XYZ company, had the following data for the year 2020. Okay, so electricity bill of Juan paid by XYZ company, that is 10,000 pesos. So this is a bill of electric bill of Juan but paid by XYZ company. Also office supplies paid by Juan but receipted under and reimbursed by XYZ company, 4,000 pesos. So these office supplies was paid by Juan, but the receipt covering the purchase transaction, was under the name of XYZ company, and then Juan was reimbursed by XYZ company. So definitely this is not Juan's office supplies, right? Juan was just asked to purchase these office supplies. Hence, this is not a taxable fringe benefit. Okay, so we also have here fuel expenses receipted and paid by Juan. So this was receipted, the receipt covering such purchase was under the name of Juan. And then this was paid by Juan. But Juan was reimbursed by the company. So meaning to say, the fuel was bought by Juan and the receipt there's the name of Juan, but Juan was reimbursed by the company. Again, this is a French benefit. Okay? Next, we also have snacks shouldered by XYZ as an act of gratitude for Juan working overtime. So, do you think this is a French benefit? Yes, that is not a French benefit. Why? Because this is XYZ's acts of gratitude. This is for XYZ's convenience. Okay, so this 500 pesos is for the employer's convenience. And once that is for employer's convenience, that is not a French benefit. Also, we have here monthly load allowance of 400 pesos times 12 months. We have 4,800. So, oops, it is monthly load allowance. Do you think this is a French benefit? No, because the nature of the benefit is usual. It's regular. It is monthly received. Therefore, this is not a French benefit. This is part of one's monthly compensation subject to normal tax. So, where or which among of these five items are taxable French benefit? So we have here the electricity bill. That is a French benefit because supposedly that's who one should be the one to pay the bill. This office supplies is not a French benefit. Fuel expenses is a French benefit because this was received under the name of Juan and paid by Juan but reimbursed by XYZ company. And the snacks is for the employer's convenience, and the monthly load allowance is part of Juan's regular compensation income. Therefore, we only have two. We only have two French benefits here, the electric bill and the fuel expenses. So our solution will be electric bill 10,000 and fuel expenses 5,000, total of 15,000 pesos French benefit. And since Juan is the manager of the company, this French benefit is subject to French benefit tax. So hence, we will gross this up. We will divide this by 65%. Remember, it was not stated whether Juan is a resident citizen. Therefore, we will use the higher rate, and that is 35%. Okay, so we get the grossed up monetary value 23,077 pesos, and we will multiply this by, again, by 35% to get the French benefit tax due of 8,077. So if you were confused how do we come up with this solution, I really suggest you'd watch the first discussion on French benefits so that you will understand why we would divide by 65% and why we would multiply by 35%. Okay? So please watch that video. Okay, so we also have membership fees, dues, and other expenses. So this membership fee, for example, if you are an accountant of a company, then you are a member, you should be a member of PICPA, the Philippine Institute of Certified Public Accountant. Okay, so we have annual dues, we have annual registration fees, and if the employer pays your membership fees for your own behalf, then that is a taxable French benefit. Okay, so membership fees, dues, and other expenses shouldered by the employer for the employee in social and athletic clubs or similar other organizations are subject to French benefit tax. Okay, especially if you are a manager or supervisor of a company. Also, expenses for foreign travel, reasonable expenses paid by the employer for the foreign travel of his employee for business meetings or conventions shall not be treated as taxable French benefit. Again, if you are a manager or supervisor and you are being sent outside of the Philippines for a business meeting or convention, any payment, any allowances, any Expenses paid by the employer on your behalf is not considered as French benefit, subject to French benefit tax. Okay, however, we have a rules. We have rules rather. So the following rules shall apply. Inland travel expenses, such as food, beverages, and other local transportation, such as a local fare, then these are not considered taxable French benefit, hence not subject to French benefit tax. We also have lodging costs in a hotel or similar other establishment amounting to an average of 300 US dollar per day or less per day shall also not be subject to French benefit tax. So any excess, for example, the amount of your daily stay, your daily hotel is 400 US dollar per day, then the first 300 shall be exempted while the excess thereon is taxable. The cost of economy and business class or airplane ticket shall also not be subject to French benefit tax. So if it's economy or business class, that is non-taxable. But the 30% of the first class, if for example, we have this economy is the lower rate, the lowest rate. We have business class, medyo social siya. Then next, the premium, pinaka nauna is yung first class. So, among the three, economy, business class, and first class, first class is the highest or the high has the highest rate. Okay, so if your ticket is or your accommodation is only economy or business class, then that is non-taxable French benefit. But if your accommodation or your airfare is first class, social, pinakamahal yun. Okay, so the cost of that ticket times 30% of that is taxable French benefit. The rest, non-taxable. Okay, let's have an illustration. Mike, the vice president of ABC Company, was sent to Melbourne, Australia during the year 2019, during August 2019, for a 3-day business trip. He received the following from his employer. Okay, so we have allowance for local fare and food, that's 4,000 US dollar. We also have hotel accommodation, that's 7,500 US dollars. Also, cost of business class airfare to Melbourne, that's 1,500 US dollars. And from Australia to Manila, it's first class ticket, and that is 2,000 US dollar. Okay, so the exchange rate back then was 50 pesos for 1 US dollar. So we will compute the French benefit tax. So before we compute the French benefit tax, let's first identify which among the four benefits received by Mike are non-taxable. So we know that if it's local fare and food and beverages, that is non-taxable. So therefore, this 4,000 is non-taxable. Hotel accommodation, non-taxable if it's 300 or less per day. And we know it's 3-day business trip. So therefore, 3 days times 300 exemption limit, that's 900 US dollar. So 7,500 minus 900 US dollar, that's around 6,600 US dollar. Okay, so we also have the cost of business class airfare. Again, this is non-taxable. Always remember economy and business class, non-taxable. And then for the first class, only the 30% of that is taxable. Okay, so we'll have this solution. So assumption one, all expenses are with documentary evidence. So it is necessary that we have sufficient and appropriate evidence that really Mike was going for a business trip or for a business meeting or convention. It was documented. There's a certificate of attendance. There's a memo. There's an invitation. So we can actually claim that really this trip is a business trip. Otherwise, all of it, the four things, will be subject to French benefit tax. So in this first assumption, all expenses are with documentary evidence. So the allowance for local fare and food, that is non-taxable. The hotel accommodation, again, it's 7,500 minus, why do we deduct 900? So again, remember, it's a 3-day business trip. And it is said in our rules that The cost of accommodation for every day should not exceed 300. So that's 3 days times 300, that's 900 US dollar. But the actual cost was 7,500. So the taxable part, the taxable portion is only 6,600. Okay, the 900 is non-taxable. The cost of business class airfare, that is non-taxable. Economy and business class, non-taxable. And for the first class, only 30% is taxable. Only the 30% of the cost of the first class ticket is taxable. All the rest, non-taxable. So a total of 7,200 US dollars. And we need to convert this into pesos. So times 50 pesos. So the taxable French benefit in pesos, that's 360,000 pesos. Okay? So this is taxable French benefit. And since Mike is a vice president, so we will subject this to French benefit tax. How do you compute that? So again, you have this taxable French benefit divided by the 65% to get the grossed up monetary value. So that's 553,846 times French benefit tax, 35%. Then we get the French benefit tax due. Okay? So that is a tax due. So how about if those expenses are without documentary evidence, or there is actually no invitation, it's not really an actual business trip, or there was no receipt at all. Okay, so assumption two, all expenses are without documentary evidence. So all of those four, the allowance for local fare and food, hotel accommodation, cost of business class airfare, and the cost of first class ticket shall be subject to French benefit. Those things are all taxable French benefits. So if you are the employer, you should always secure evidence to prove that really that trip is a business trip. Okay, so that you can save taxes. So times 50 pesos, that's 750,000, and we need to subject this entire amount, 750, to French benefit tax. So that is 403,846 pesos. Ang laki, no? So that's the French benefit tax. Again, inland travel expenses, non-taxable. This covers food, beverages, and local fare. Cost of business class and economy ticket, non-taxable. Cost of first class ticket, taxable, but only 30%. Okay, so hotel accommodation exemption is 300 per day. Okay. How about holiday and vacation expenses? So again, holiday and vacation expenses granted and shouldered by the employer for the benefit of the employee shall be treated as taxable French benefits. For example, if it's Christmas, Christmas is coming. So if it's Christmas and your employer wants you to enjoy your Christmas vacation and he gave you, let's say, certain amount, let's say $10,000 for you to enjoy your Christmas vacation. That is a taxable French benefits. Educational benefits. As a rule, the cost of educational assistance, this means the tuition, matriculation, and miscellaneous, and if you are studying outside of your city, for example, in my case, during 2015, we were sent together with Lyndon and Dan. We were sent to Cebu to have our master's degree in accountancy, and in San Carlos, at the University of San Carlos, Cebu City. So the cost of our tuition, the airfare, the food, and everything is covered and shouldered by Father Saturnino Urios University, my beloved university and alma mater. Okay, so it was all expense covered, meaning free, lahat free. So that is a French benefit. Okay, those amounts are French benefits. Okay, so but since I'm not a manager, then I'm not subject to French benefit tax. Okay, likewise, the cost of educational assistance extended to the dependent of the employee by the employer are also subject to French benefit tax. So if you are not the one receiving the educational assistance but your dependent, your children or your child or your relative, a dependent to you. So that is a taxable French benefit. French benefit tax shall not apply under the following conditions. So there's an exemption. No? The education or study is directly connected with the employer's trade, business, or profession. So like what I had. Okay, so I was sent to University of San Carlos. I was going there every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays for 3 years. Okay, to pursue my master's degree in accountancy, major in internal audit, together with Lyndon and Dunn. So we were sent because it is a requirement of CHED that every faculty of the accountancy program must have, or every faculty of every college should have a master's degree at least. So that is directly connected with the employer's trade. Okay, so we are exempted. Okay, so there is a written contract between them, the employer and the employee, to the effect that the employee is under the obligation to remain in the employ of the employer for a period they have agreed upon. So, like again, what I had, like we had. So, as a condition to that master's degree, to that educational program of FSCU, we are under obligation to serve our alma mater for at least 5 years after our graduation. So, hence, I'm teaching taxation. All expenses were paid. Everything was actually free. The tuition, the airfare, the food, the local fare, everything. And then we are required to, after the completion of our master's degree, to teach at FSU, of course, to help our alma mater. So that is not a taxable French benefit because there's a condition. Right. However, if there's no condition, if the education is not related to the business of my employer, then that is a taxable French benefit. But if these two are met, then that is non-taxable French benefit. Also, the assistance extended to the dependents was provided through a competitive scheme under the scholarship program of the company. So again, as I mentioned earlier a while ago, so if you, the employer, or if your dependent, if your child or children receives scholarship or free tuition from your employer, that is a taxable French benefit. But if your employer has this scholarship program, okay, and your child or children really has to go through a competitive scheme to pass the requirements to retain the scholarship, then that is a non-taxable French benefit. So it is only subject to tax. It is only a taxable French benefit if there's no requirement. It was just given for free by your employer to your children or to your child. Next, if those French benefits are given to a rank and file. So all of those things I have mentioned, the expenses, the household expenses, the educational assistance, the everything I've mentioned earlier and in on my previous videos are all given to a rank and file. For example, those benefits shall not be subject to French benefit tax. Why? Because French benefit tax applies only if the French benefit were given to a manager or supervisor. But if the French benefit is given to a rank and file, those are not subject to French benefit tax. Rather, those benefits are subject to normal tax, subject to the 90,000 threshold. So let's have rules. Okay? French benefits given to rank and file are not subject to French benefit tax. Again, the French benefit tax only applies if the benefits are given to a manager or supervisor. Otherwise, if rank and file, subject to normal tax. So these French benefits are subject to normal tax and therefore to withholding tax and compensation, provided the total amount exceeds 90,000 pesos. If it does not exceed, again, that's exempted. Allowances or benefits which are fixed in amounts and are regularly received by an employee is also not subject to French benefit tax because the benefit by nature is regular, therefore part of the compensation. Illustration again, we have here Juan, a rank and file. received the following during the year 2020. So, Juan received annual basic salary of 300,000 pesos. So his monthly salary is 25,000 pesos times 12 months. Aside from that, you also have overtime and holiday pay. That's a total of 10,000 pesos. He also received 13th month pay, that's 25,000. And then fixed monthly load allowance, that's 400 times 12 months. So we have 4,800. And MacBook Air. So out of nowhere, the employer gave Juan a MacBook Air. And that costs the employer 77,000 pesos. That is a French benefit. Okay, so why would the employer give Juan a MacBook Air? And also Juan had mandatory contributions. So this are the social security system premiums, the pag-ibig or the housing and mutual development fund, PhilHealth. So that's a total of 15,000 pesos. So we are going to compute for the net taxable income, compensation income of Juan. So again, Juan is not a manager nor a supervisor but a rank and file. So our solution would be the annual basic salary of 25,000, that's taxable compensation income. Overtime holiday pay, that is also taxable compensation income. The fixed monthly load allowance, again, this is not a French benefit. Why? Because by nature, the load allowance is regular. It is not casual. It is not a French benefit. Because when you say French benefit, these are extra, meaning not regular, only casual. But in this case, in this particular case, this monthly load allowance is fixed and regularly received by Juan. Therefore, part of his compensation income subject to tax. We also have the 13th month pay and other benefits. So the 13th month pay is 25,000 and the MacBook Air. Again, why would the employer give Juan a MacBook Air? Right? So that is a French benefit. That is not usual. That is not regular. That is casual. So a total of 102,000 pesos. So this is the total 13th month pay and other benefits. And we know that we have a limit because 90,000 of that is non-taxable, is exempted from the tax. So in 102 minus 90, we have 12,000 pesos taxable excess. So we will add together 300,000, 10,000, 4,800, and 12,000. Together, we have 326,800. This is a taxable compensation income, and we will deduct the mandatory contribution, that is SS, Pag-ibig and PhilHealth, that's 15,000. So the net taxable compensation income now is 311,800. So that's how we compute basically a compensation income of a rank and file. So if you notice, the French benefit, the MacBook Air, here is not subject to French benefit tax, but rather this French benefit received by a rank and file, this is added to 13th month pay and other benefits. Take note, the 13th month pay and other benefit is a catch-all. Okay, so this covers all benefits, all casual benefits, not regular benefits. Because if it's regular benefit, that is a compensation income. But if it's casual, unusual, not regular, then these benefits are added together in the 13th month pay and other benefits catchphrase. Okay, so 102. But if Juan is a manager or a supervisor, that 77,000 should be subject to French benefit tax. If Juan was a manager or supervisor. Okay, so in our case, subject to limit of 90,000 pesos. So here's the summary of everything. Okay, so that's French benefit, no? So here's a summary of everything we have discussed from our past two videos. So this, in general, we have these benefits. This could be fixed, usual, monthly, regular, or this could be casual, unusual, not regular. So this casual actually includes de minimis benefits. So we also have a separate video of that, and in on our third video we have this de minimis benefits. So please also watch the next videos. I'll be linking that here. Okay, so if the benefit is fixed and is received monthly by the employee, whether rank and file or manager or supervisor, again, the ranks do not matter. So this will be subject to regular or graduated tax because as by nature, these fixed benefits are usual. These are part of the regular compensation. Okay? If it is fixed, always remember if it's fixed, if it's monthly, regular compensation subject to regular or graduated rates. But if it's casual benefit, if it's unusual benefit, if it is not regular, then it depends whether who received the benefit is it the rank and file or a manager supervisor. Because if the benefits were received by a rank and file, then that is subject to 90,000 pesos. Any excess, any excess over the 90,000 pesos will be subject to the graduated rates. Casual benefits received by a rank and file, received by a rank and file, casual benefits received by rank and file are subject to 90,000 pesos. Okay? And any excess over the limit subject to regular rate. But if the casual benefits are given to a manager or supervisor, that is subject to French benefit tax. Okay? That's it. That's all about French benefit. So I hope you have learned a lot from these two videos that I have. So we also have our videos on how to fill up returns, the withholding tax on French benefit tax. So I hope you watch also that so that you will have the knowledge on how to prepare working paper and how to fill up the 1603. Okay, so thank you so much for watching and see you next meeting.